Good morning, everyone. It's absolutely wonderful to be here. And I have to be honest, that you and I got quite choked up seeing that video. So this year for Ventures has very much been a year of evolution, of solidifying some of the initiatives that we've been working on this whole time and ensuring that we're able to implement sustainable funding solutions across the various funds that we manage. We now have a broad range of funds across the capital and development spectrum, and we are purely focused on delivering fit-for-purpose funding instruments to our SMEs, which look different for different types of businesses in terms of size, scale, and geographic location. So we have a few themes that have really amplified this particular effort in our financial year of 25. And the first one really focuses on the combination of capital and catalytic partners and partnerships that we have built within our strategic investors as well as our sister company solutions. We do think that this is a fundamental competitive advantage for Edge, and it has really delivered this year in two of our funds in particular, where we've been able to combine this idea of programmatic intervention, business development support with funding, as mentioned in that Kolo video. And it is a powerful combination that is difficult to sort of implement initially, but has this ongoing sustainable effect that we think will really be a game changer in certain environments. So we're delighted that we're able to double down on that and amplify that across the board. We've also been able to deploy some of the innovative investment opportunities that we've been exploring for quite some time. And I was thinking about this while putting together this presentation, and it came to me the sort of concept of relevant innovation. It's one thing sort of building something that you think the market needs, and quite another when you really try and align that with fit-for-purpose funding. And I believe that we've been able to do that in some of the more leading or sort of cutting-edge instruments in venture debt, in some of the offerings that we've had within our franchise fund, as well as the Accelerate loan product, which have had very specific use cases, and we're seeing that deployment is really delivering in those areas. The other one that I think has been fundamental to our success this year is this concept of active and customized post-investment support. We've had a number of really encouraging instances where this particular support has actually changed the trajectory of some of the SMEs that we've been working in. Some of the turnarounds and the restructuring capability that we've sort of been building on all these years has really started to be a real value added opportunity and benefit for our SMEs. And that is something that we will certainly continue to drive. And then the last one that was a bit of a standout for us this year, and one of the key themes that we're looking to amplify going forward as well, is this idea of ecosystem building within the SME community, and really getting a connection for SMEs amongst themselves, shared learnings, such that we know that some of the work that we're doing really resonates and is very applicable to their particular circumstance. And the showcase event for us was the Investee Day. It was our inaugural Investee Day this year. And to be honest, we didn't actually have much of an agenda other than trying to create a day that we think SMEs would like to attend. And we were absolutely blown away by the connection points, by the sense of identification that so many of the SMEs got with each other, and the benefit that they said they experienced by attending such a day of pooling our SMEs together and speaking about very relevant topics for them. We've also facilitated sort of panels and podcasts, and I think this idea that we really do create a community and a sense of belonging within the SME ecosystem is something that we will continue to develop and try and be catalytic in that area. So if we look at the numbers, the standout stats for Ventures is that we continue to grow the number of SMEs that we support, and currently we have 126 active investments across our funds, which is no mean feat. And one stat that I'm exceptionally proud of for this year is that of those 126, 44 are women-owned businesses, and we have crossed that threshold into 35% of our businesses being women-owned, which is a wonderful achievement and something that we will continue to be intentional about and ensure that we provide the adequate support to this area. The revenue numbers, the capital deployed, and the job creation numbers are all reflective of a broader environment that we operate in, and the economic challenges are real for our investees at the moment. So we're very proud that we're still able to have delivered an average of 18% revenue growth, that we've been able to deploy over 200 million for the second time, and that we have had positive job creation growth. But all of these are slightly muted versus last year, and I think that we have to own that reality right now, is that it is a low growth economic environment. So to be able to achieve above and beyond is going to demand more intentional action across the board. One of the things I would like to just really call out that we've seen at times being baffling in terms of the working capital payment cycles that some of these SMEs have to endure in the corporate supply chain. 120, 90, 120 days for payment, sometimes payment being, way beyond that. And this has been a real challenge this year across the board. And so we've been trying to sort of find innovative ways to support our SMEs to be able to continually grow within these corporate supply chains with these realities, knowing that the corporates themselves are under pressure and have reasons why they need to operate in that way. So I think this has been a slightly more sort of sobering set of results, while still solid and very much showcasing the sustainability and the health and thriving nature of our portfolio. We can't be blinkered to the overall reality and how we're going to have to continually create this combination of programmatic support and funding, and that everybody has their role to play such that we can expand and grow in the year ahead. Thank you very much.
I think Janice being modest when she referred to customized post-investment support. In my time in the portfolio, I often found myself giving marriage advice, where I'm not an expert, but I can only think about some of the entrepreneurs calling me and saying, well, we are husband and wife duo, and my wife doesn't want to get out of bed, and can you call her? I so wish I had ChatGPT back then, because it would have made it easier. But I think what Janice has kind of touched on is the power of intentional investing, and how when you blend capital and match it to real SME needs is actually unlocking real growth in a strained economy. But like Jan said, you can't only put money. Capability is equally important, and so for SMEs to scale, they also need confidence and access to the right partners and to help them build resilience. And so Edge Solutions, which is the business unit we're going to talk about now, helps SMEs in building the talent, the readiness, and in a way that actually creates a pathway to markets, to jobs, and to growth. So please help me welcome the CEO of Edge Solutions, Susan Molisane, to take us through the impact for the business unit.
Thank you, Nabs. It's an absolute pleasure for me to talk about the results of the business from an impact perspective. Every year, we just are in the detail as teams working with the SMEs to produce these results. And it's always such a great moment when you're reading the reports to just lift a little bit and see the gold behind what we actually do every day. So with that said, I'll maybe just start with some of the key highlights for this year particularly. So the first one is partnership. It's quite interesting that it came up in Swisa's talk. It also came up in Janice's talk. It just shows like how critical it is for us to partner in the work that we do. So partnership in itself is the cornerstone of the solutions business at Edge Growth. We can't do what we do, certainly without partnership. We partner with the investors that actually make the funding available for us to work with our SMEs. We partner with funders, both internal to Edge, with Edge Ventures, and co-create solutions that are fit for purpose so that businesses have access to funding that is relevant for their need. And then we partner with business development providers, service providers. Suisa is one of our business development service providers. We have over 70, many of which are SMEs themselves. So co-creating the solutions that we come with is in and of itself an act of partnership. The biggest shift this year, I think, that we did is we figured out that in certain instances, there's a requirement to support them with our SMEs and creating the programs themselves. So one of the things that we did this year in multiple programs is actually engage with our SMEs in co-creating the design of the program. And so that we thought was quite sobering because we just think that the quality of the output was such a better outcome than what we would have achieved just doing it sitting here in air-conditioned, as I love to say, in air-conditioned offices without being close to the reality of what it takes to run business. So I think that's the key thing that I wanted to highlight around partnership is that in this year, we even found a lot of value from partnering with our SMEs and actually creating the solutions that are helpful. The other theme I wanted to talk about is how we've strengthened our SME pipeline. So over the years, we've worked with predominantly early stage growth businesses and then scaling businesses. We've had some solutions and interventions for later growth businesses, but we found that we could strengthen that in the last year. So we actually launched what we call Empower. So we have Multiply, which is the earlier stage businesses, and then Magnify, which is the later stage businesses. And last year we introduced what we call Empower. Empower is a program specifically around later growth stage challenges of businesses, and like we've kind of put together solutions that allow us to then partner with those businesses in that way. That program was actually launched in partnership with one of our mining portfolio clients, and in the last year we've actually extended that offering to the intermediary-based insurance, and we've seen great results from there as well, both from a revenue growth perspective from the SMEs in that cohort, as well as a job creation perspective. So that's another way which we're trying to cover the full life cycle for an SME's journey and trying to find relevant solutions at different phases of that journey. The other key theme was how we constantly evolve our program design. Every year, we always look at, how can we take it to the next level in terms of offerings and the kind of solutions we provide to our SMEs. And in this year, with one of our banking clients, we piloted what I call international market pathways. So it's one thing to create access to markets locally, but we did launch a successful exporter program that then allowed the SMEs on that program to explore markets beyond the borders of South Africa, which was so successful that we're actually doing a second cohort of that. And we're even thinking about how we can also use the learnings from that program to create an importer program that helps with efficiencies for SMEs that are importing as part of their place sourcing strategies. So I think that was one thing that was quite interesting in the learning around access to market beyond South Africa and what we can learn from that and do with that going forward. Off the back of the launch of the Empower program, the other thing that we've done is introduce multi-year life cycle programs. Again, with one of our mining programs, mining clients, what we've done is we've got SMEs that are representative of all the different phases of a business's growth, all the way from early stage, we graduate into later growth stage and graduates of the SCEM. And what this has really helped us see that works really well is that it takes time to actually grow a business. And we've got partners in our investor that are actually patient enough to walk the entire life cycle with the businesses that we're working with. Like these multi-year programs are anything between 3 and 5 years. And that's actually what we want to see so that you can actually walk the entire journey with the SME. The other great thing that we did this year was we piloted a Shark Tank style pitching platform for grant capital, specifically around innovation capabilities within the business. So that was basically the intent of the grant capital, was to make sure that we improve innovation. And that was quite interesting. One of the beneficiaries of that capital was a motor body repair shop based in KZN that actually used the capital to make sure they're open 24/7. So you can actually bring your car at any hour of the night and be turned around within 48 hours. So like that level of innovation required like some funding, and like that platform made that available, which is something that we really enjoyed and we found that we could do a little bit more with as we go ahead. The last thing to echo Jan's sentiments and thoughts is just the resilience of all of our SMEs in a disrupted economy. Like she said, I want to just reiterate that the last few years, not just this last year, were tough economically, and that was felt by our SMEs as well. This last year was no different, and we can see it in some of our data points, especially around jobs and businesses that are growing more than 20%, that those numbers have come down, which is a reflection of the economic pressure that they're facing. However, the SMEs demonstrated extraordinary resilience, and this is why I keep saying every year, the real heroes of the stories that we tell are the SMEs that we work with and partner with. So moving on to the highlight stats, this year we worked with 164 SMEs. 40% of those were Black-owned, Black female-owned businesses. Like Jan said, it's an important metric for us that we keep watching from a diversity and inclusion perspective to make sure that we are supporting across the board all of the SMEs that require our support. The other standout stat that I wanted to talk about is how this year we're able to cross the 1 billion rand mark in terms of collective revenue for this SMEs that we're supporting, which I think is a great achievement in the context that I've just explained and just explained. And it's also a marker for us in terms of us being able to measure the effectiveness of some of the access to market initiatives that we run. So that I thought was something to talk about. The next one is around BMI. BMI is the Business Maturity Index that we created at Edge. It helps us measure sustainability of the businesses that we work with. And it's a score that gives us an indication of how a business is doing from a sustainability perspective across different business practices. And this year we managed to improve the average BMI by 36%, which is a great indicator that the things that we're doing are starting to build resilience and sustainability in the businesses that we work with. So I thought that was also something to highlight. And then the last thing is around jobs. And this year we created 250 net jobs. The reason we use the net jobs metric is because we want to actually be able to say what is the real impact of the jobs created. So there's jobs created, but then if you take away jobs lost in that time period, you then put your net job outcome. And that's the metric that we watch quite closely. This year we managed to do 250 net jobs. That translates to about 1.5 times jobs per SME. And that's a metric that is down from last year. Last year we're sitting at about 353 net jobs created. And again, that's an indicator of the kind of pressure that our SMEs have faced this year. In terms of the actual jobs created number, that was up on last year, 852, being at about 629 jobs. And so although that is up, like I said, the measures that we are really interested in is that net jobs number, because that gives us an indication of the net impact of the work that we did. So I'll leave it at that. And I think the last thing I just need to say is a huge thank you to everybody that partners with us in this journey. It is sometimes sweat and tears, not so much blood yet, and to get everybody to do the work that we do, but it's like fulfilling work, like Susa said. I don't think anyone at Edge feels any different about the work that we do. It's what gives us that extra push. So to our investors, our funders, our SMEs, our business development support partners, the internal teams themselves are sometimes up late at night trying to make all of this happen. A huge thank you from you.
Oh, thanks, Susan. I think as Susan was speaking, there's, and you know, as you see that impact stats flash up on the board, it doesn't just happen. You know, there are many hours behind that. There's a lot of dedication, there's a lot of partnering, and I think we are about to celebrate and listen to our SMEs, but there's one group of people that I actually think maybe deserves an extra round of applause, and I think it's the people who at Edge come to Edge and say, I want to make a difference. And they come to Edge. In any entering interview, you ask any Edgeling, why are you joining Edge? You could have gone anywhere else. And their number one statement is, I want to make a difference. And so I think, can you help me just giving a round of applause for all the Edgelings that